Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video over on Ark Survival Ascended. And in this video, I wanted to show you something really cool about the new tame, the ARCHELON. So it was released and it has some really neat features. So obviously you can see that I'm on top of this ARCHELON right now. It has some really nice stats. This is solo player. So obviously its health is pretty high base right off the bat. So it's got incredibly high health and it goes up in incredibly high numbers. Its weight is amazing, and it doesn't actually really do any damage at all, so don't even bother about that. But the really neat thing about the ARCHELON is its ability to actually tank. Now, this is a prim saddle. You can get up to 124, just like you would be able to with all the other creatures inside of Ark. They haven't capped it yet, which I think they'll probably end up doing, because these things seem to be really, really strong at soaking. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean by that. So obviously you can see that there is a turret right there. It is shooting me. I am taking 11 damage from a heavy turret on my shell. So 11 damage per bullet is not shabby. Now it will take increased damage to the head. So it takes a 50% reduction in the damage that it takes from a shot. So you can see that the shell, and especially if I'm using the backwards ability here, you can see that I'm taking 11 damage per shot, and the turret is very far off from actually being able to hit my character. So it has a 50% reduction in the amount of damage that it takes. So a bunch of these eventually will be really, really strong for PvP purposes, obviously. I'm going to go ahead and go into GCM mode so I can just demolish that turret and go on to the next one, because yeah, who cares about that, Teach? That's just a regular turret. But just so you can see what it looks like, right? All right, so let's get rid of that turret, and then let's go ahead and get a little closer. So that is the auto turret and how much damage that it does. You can see that this thing is insanely slow, so keep that in mind. They do get a little bit of a buff when they kill the jellyfish, but it's not really practical for a lot of soaking locations to kill things and stuff like that. So we're just going to pretend like we don't have any of those buffs. But I'm going to actually need to go out of GCM mode. That's what I need to do. I was like, what am I doing? All right, so we're going to go ahead and go there. I'm going to go put it back into infinite stats mode just so it doesn't die immediately, because it's a low level one. And I'll show you how much damage they take from heavies. It's obviously going to be 4 times as much. So, and we're almost there. Come on now. It should be on low. Really? Really? Come on, just shoot. How close I got to be? There we go. All right, so you can see it takes 51 damage per shot. And this isn't a cap saddle. So it would take about, give or take, like 30%, maybe a little bit more, less damage than 51. So you're probably looking per shot right around 40 damage per hit from a heavy turret to one of these turtles, which is a pretty awesome thing, obviously. I think that you're going to be able to block line of sight using this this saddle, and even going backwards as well to be able to block some line of sight, because they're a little bit of a larger creature. Obviously, you can see that I'm taking pretty significant damage there, so I'm going to go ahead and pop those stats back up just a touch. But it's a very low level one, and that's why. So with some bread, like if I was to set the imprint on this thing, I would have that increased health and all those kinds of things as well. So you can see that I'm taking that damage. But if you're from the back side of this thing, it is taking half, a little bit less than half damage. So a half damage cooldown. We're going to go ahead and imprint, set imprint to player, and then we're just going to, sure, maybe, I don't know if that works or not. I don't think it did. But anyways, you can see that if I was to imprint it, it would get some more boosted stats as well. But half damage to the shell is pretty cool, and I'll go ahead and show you the tech turret as well. Obviously, you can see on land, these are not fast-moving creatures, but in the water, they're actually really, really quick. So definitely capitalize. I have a video that talks about the actual, uses for these guys, so definitely check that out if you get a second. But these are pretty cool. So anyways, let's go ahead and get onto this guy. So you can see there's some knockback for the tech turret, which is kind of unfortunate. So they will get knocked around in the water because they're not considered a large creature, so that kind of sucks. And you can see that it does do splash damage, but it doesn't do splash damage to the side or back. So if I am hit, it's like if it's at the front of me, I will take splash damage from this turret. But I will not take splash damage from the actual front of this, the back or the side. So if you're going to be soaking these, you're going to want to find a way to get to the sides so you don't take that splash damage from it. But again, you saw that it does take that, also had the reduction in damage per shot. We're going to try and get close enough where it can actually, damage me. So there's 64. Can't even get close enough, really. Yeah, it's not going to get close enough. But you can see the knockback, but it does take that reduction in damage. So about 64 a shot. Not too shabby, all things considered. So 64 a shot for these guys. I think that people will find a way to use them to raid sea bases pretty quickly as well, just due to the fact that you got quite a bit of coverage from the saddle. You can get 124 armor saddle, plus their speed in water makes them useful for actually raiding any water-based turrets or water-based bases, because that line of sight block from underneath. So they will be able to soak pretty freaking well. So you definitely have to use that as a key factor. But you can see the speed on land is incredibly difficult to to get past. But in the water, yeah, they'll be useful for actually PvP purposes. Now, come on now, buddy, get in the water already. Okay. So you can see it. I mean, this is not sprint mode. They do have a sprint mode in the water, which is pretty quick. It is not something that is a slow moving creature at all in the water. It's pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's the fastest by any means, but it does have some speed. It's not going to outrun anything. You can see that this Zypanthicus is actually keeping up with me. So it will run you down, especially when you're in sprint mode, and cause you to bleed. So that's something that you have to keep an eye out for. But you can just go on to shore, unlike other sea creatures can, to give yourself out of the water, which is obviously very useful to have like an aquatic creature like that. So anyways, that is the actual purposes of this thing for soaking. It takes half damage plus the saddle reduction being up to 124. So you're taking about like 40-ish, 45 damage per turret shot from a heavy, and then same thing from a tech, which is pretty good reduction considering stegos are not too far off from that. Not too far. They're like a little bit better than that. But still, these things are pretty cool because of the ability to use them in the water as well. So anyways, hopefully this video helps you out and teaches you how the ARCHELON can be used to soak and how good it is for like the actual reduction in 50%. So hopefully this video helps you out. Teach. Wow.